You know that moment when a flight attendant walks past you in the aisle, and they smile at you differently than they smile at everyone else? Like they actually see you? That's not random. You just did something they wish every single passenger understood, and most people have no idea what triggered it. Now, I know what you might be thinking. I say please and thank you, I'm not rude. What else could there possibly be? And you're right, basic courtesy matters. But there are 12 specific things, small things you might already be doing without realizing it, that genuinely make a flight attendant's day easier, safer, and honestly, a little less exhausting. And when you do them, we notice. We remember. I'm Jess. I spent 16 years flying long-haul international routes, and I'm not working for an airline anymore, which means I can finally tell you what we actually appreciated, not what the training manual said we should appreciate. After about year 3, I started noticing patterns. Certain passengers just moved differently through the cabin. They weren't trying to impress anyone. They just had this situational awareness that made everything flow better. And I'd think, I wish I could tell everyone what they just did. So that's what this video is. You're about to learn the 12 behaviors that flight attendants secretly hope you know about. Some are about safety, some are about efficiency, and some are just about making a hard job a tiny bit more human. Some of you are already doing them. Some of you are one small adjustment away. Let's start with the first one. The first one is simple, but it makes a bigger difference than you'd think. Keep your seatbelt buckled and visible on top of your blanket when you're sleeping or resting, even when the seatbelt sign is off. Here's the scenario you've probably lived. You've tucked yourself in, blanket up to your chin, neck pillow in place. You're finally drifting off. Then the flight attendant gently taps your shoulder, wakes you up, and asks if your seatbelt is on. You mumble yes, fumble around to show them, and then you're awake again. Here's what's happening. FAA regulations require flight attendants to visually confirm that seatbelts are fastened before landing and during turbulence. If they can't see your seatbelt, they're legally required to wake you up and check. It's not optional. They don't want to do it. Trust me, waking a sleeping passenger is nobody's favorite task. But if they can't see that metal buckle, they have to ask. But if your seatbelt is buckled on top of your blanket, visible, they can see it from the aisle. They can let you sleep. You get rest, they get to move through their cabin check in under 2 minutes instead of 10. Now, some people worry it's uncomfortable to have the buckle on top. And yes, it's slightly less cozy, but you can keep it loose, just fastened and visible. That's all we need. Next one's about planning ahead. If you have dietary restrictions, pre-order your special meal through the airline's website or app at least 24 hours before your flight. Don't wait to ask on board. You've probably done this. You board, you settle in, the meal cart comes by, and you ask if they have a vegetarian option, or gluten-free, or kosher. The flight attendant says, "Let me check," disappears, comes back and says, "I'm sorry, we don't have that available today." Here's the system reality. In-flight catering loads meals based on pre-orders and average demand. If you didn't pre-order a special meal, the crew is working with what's already on the plane. Sometimes there's an extra. Usually there isn't. And when you ask mid-flight, the flight attendant has to dig through inventory, check with the lead, and then deliver disappointing news, all while holding up the service for everyone else. But when you pre-order, vegetarian, kosher, gluten-free, diabetic, low sodium, whatever you need, your meal is tagged with your name and seat number. It's in a specific location in the galley. The crew knows it's there. They bring it to you first, before general service even starts, because special meals get delivered early. You're guaranteed your meal. They don't have to scramble. Go to the airline's website, find Manage Booking, select Special Meals or Dietary Requests, and choose your option at least 24 hours before departure. If you're booking over the phone, say, "I'd like to request a special meal for dietary needs. Can you add that to my reservation now?" Using the words dietary needs signals a real requirement, not just a preference, which ensures it gets logged properly. I had a passenger named Mr. Chen, maybe mid-70s, who flew with us monthly from San Francisco to Tokyo. He always pre-ordered the Asian vegetarian meal. Every single time, without fail. One day I told him, "You know, you make my job so easy." He looked surprised. He said, "I just click the box online. That's all I do." Exactly. That's all it takes. And it meant I never had to tell him we ran out, and he never had to eat a sad roll and call it dinner. All right, this next one is quick. When flight attendants walk through the cabin doing wellness checks, especially on long flights, a quick nod or thumbs up if you're fine saves them time and keeps them moving. On flights longer than a few hours, especially overnight, we're required to do periodic wellness checks. We're walking through looking for anyone who might need medical attention, anyone who looks distressed, anyone signaling for help. When you make brief eye contact and give a small nod, a thumbs up, or even just a calm, "I'm good, thanks," you're giving us instant confirmation. We can move on. We're not wondering if you're asleep or unconscious. A whole cabin of passengers who acknowledge wellness checks means we can complete a walkthrough in 5 minutes instead of 15. Now, if you're genuinely asleep and don't respond, that's fine. We'll look for breathing and move on. But if you're awake and you see us looking, just let us know you're okay. This next one can genuinely prevent an emergency. If you're traveling with a CPAP, oxygen concentrator, insulin pump, or any medical device, or if you have a condition that might require crew awareness, tell a flight attendant during boarding, not after takeoff. Here's why early notification matters. Flight attendants are trained in medical response, but our ability to help you depends on knowing what's normal for you versus what's an emergency. If you tell us during boarding, "I have a CPAP for sleep apnea," or "I have an insulin pump, just so you're aware," we can make a note, brief the crew, and know what to expect if we see you using it or adjusting it mid-flight. If you wait until mid-flight to mention it, especially if something goes wrong, we're operating without context. During boarding, approach a flight attendant and say, "I'm traveling with a CPAP. It's in my carry-on under my seat. Just wanted to let you know in case you see me using it." Or, "I have diabetes. I have everything I need with me, but I wanted you to be aware in case of an emergency." You're providing information, not asking for anything. This gets logged mentally by the crew, and sometimes physically in our briefing notes. I had a passenger named Diane, probably late 60s, flying Seattle to Frankfurt. She boarded, came straight to me, and said, "I have an EpiPen in my purse for a shellfish allergy. You won't be serving shellfish, but I wanted you to know where it is if something happens." I thanked her, made a note, told the lead flight attendant. 6 hours in, another passenger had an allergic reaction to something, unrelated to Diane. But because Diane had told us where her EpiPen was, we knew we had a backup on board if needed. We didn't need it, but knowing it was there gave us options. Next one sounds almost too simple to matter. Decide what you want to drink or eat before the service cart gets to you, and have your answer ready. You might think, "I'm not holding anyone up. I just need 5 seconds to decide between coffee and tea." Here's the math. On a plane with 150 passengers, if every person takes 10 extra seconds to decide, that's 25 minutes added to the service. When you know what you want, coffee black or tomato juice no ice, the interaction takes 5 seconds. The cart keeps flowing. The whole cabin gets served faster. When the cart is 2 rows away, decide. When they reach you, say, "Tomato juice, no ice, please." Or, "Water with a cup of ice on the side." Or, "I'm all set, thank you." Clear, decisive, done. Last one for this section. If you have dietary restrictions, allergies, or you just need to eat on a schedule, bring your own food. Don't rely on what's available on board. Even if you pre-ordered a special meal, things can go wrong. Catering can load the wrong meal. Your meal might have been given to someone else by mistake. The flight might not have a meal service at all. When you bring your own snacks, protein bars, nuts, fruit, a sandwich, you've taken yourself out of that equation entirely. I wish I could tell you that airline food accommodates everyone. It doesn't, even with pre-orders. The system tries, but it's not foolproof. Bringing your own food is the only way to guarantee you'll have what you need. I remember a passenger named Carlos, type 1 diabetic, maybe early 70s, who always brought a small insulated bag with snacks, juice boxes, everything he needed to manage his blood sugar. He never asked us for anything. One time, another diabetic passenger had an emergency and needed sugar fast. Carlos offered one of his juice boxes. The other passenger stabilized. Carlos had packed extra. He was prepared. Those first 6? Some of you are already doing them without realizing how much they help. The next 6 go deeper. These are the behaviors that flight attendants notice and genuinely remember. Before you ask a flight attendant for something non-urgent, an extra pillow, a different drink, a question about arrival time, pause and ask, "Is now a good time, or should I wait?" This isn't just about being polite. It's about showing you understand we're managing 20 things at once. Flight attendants operate in cycles. There's pre-departure prep, there's service, there's cleanup, there's turbulence response, there's medical emergencies. At any given moment, we might be in the middle of something time-sensitive that you can't see. Counting cash, checking in with the cockpit, responding to a call button from another section. When you ask, "Is now a good time?" you're acknowledging that you see us as a person with a workflow, not a service robot on standby. And here's what happens. 9 times out of 10, we'll say yes, and we'll help you immediately. But that one time when we're genuinely slammed, we'll say, "Give me 3 minutes, and we'll come back to you." You get what you need, we get to finish what we were doing. Nobody's stressed. Approach and say, "Hi, is now a good time, or should I catch you later? I wanted to ask about," and then your request. If we say wait, say, "No problem, whenever works for you." And look, if it's truly urgent, you're feeling sick, you need medication, something's wrong, don't wait. Say it's urgent. We'll respond immediately. This is only for things that can wait 5 minutes. Next one. If you want to switch seats with someone, maybe to sit with family, maybe for a better spot, arrange it directly with the other passenger. Don't ask the flight attendant to negotiate for you. We have to check if the seat is actually available or if someone's coming late. We have to make sure you're eligible for an exit row. We have to check if the seat is actually available or if someone's coming late. We have to make sure you're eligible for an exit row. If you want someone else's seat, we have to ask that person on your behalf, which makes us the middleman in a negotiation that might get awkward. But when you handle it yourself, you approach the other passenger directly. You ask politely. They say yes or no. The crew isn't involved. We just get informed of the final outcome. Say to the other passenger, "Excuse me, would you be willing to switch seats so I can sit with my family? I'm in 18B. You're in 22A. No pressure if you'd rather not." If they say yes, then inform a flight attendant, "We've agreed to switch seats. I'm moving from 18B to 22A. Just wanted to let you know." I watched a passenger named Tom, older guy, maybe 75, handle this perfectly. He wanted to sit with his grandson, but they were separated. He walked 3 rows back, asked the passenger in the middle seat if he'd be willing to switch to an aisle seat up front. The guy said yes, loved the aisle seat. Tom came to me and said, "We've switched seats. I'm now in 25B. He's in 22C. I said, "Thank you for letting me know." Took 5 seconds. No drama. Compare that to passengers who expect me to ask strangers to move on their behalf. Night and day. Now, if the other passenger says no, you have to accept that. Don't push. Don't ask us to pressure them. They paid for that seat too. All right, this next one is weirdly specific, but once you know it, you'll never forget it. If you pressed your call button and you can see the flight attendant walking toward you, reach up and turn the light off. We already know you called. When you press the call button, it triggers a light above your seat and a chime in the galley. We see where the call came from. We're coming to you. But if you leave the light on, it stays lit until we physically reach up and turn it off ourselves. When you turn it off yourself as soon as you see us coming, you've saved us that awkward reach. Just reach up, press the button again to turn the light off when you see us approaching. That's it. Next, if the lavatory runs out of toilet paper or paper towels, check the cabinet under the sink yourself before you call a flight attendant. If you're out of toilet paper, open the cabinet under the sink. Almost every airplane lavatory has a small cabinet under the sink or behind a panel. Inside are backup rolls of toilet paper, extra paper towels, and sometimes soap refills. You can restock it yourself in 10 seconds. When you check the cabinet first and find the supplies, you've solved your own problem. If you're out of toilet paper, open the cabinet under the sink. Pull out a roll. Replace it on the holder. If the cabinet is genuinely empty, then press the call button or let us know when you exit. Not every lavatory has the same setup. Some airlines stock differently. If you check and there's nothing there, no problem. Let us know. But at least look first. If you've brought food or drinks on board and you're done with them before we start service, gather your trash, wait for a crew member to walk past, and offer to hand it to them then. Before the service cart comes out, we're moving through the cabin checking seatbelts, overhead bins, carry-on placement. We have our hands free. When you offer us your trash during this phase, it's easy to take. But if you wait until the service cart is in the aisle, now we're holding a tray, pouring drinks, managing payments. We don't have a free hand. When you see a flight attendant walking through before service, hold up your trash and say, "Can I hand this to you now, or should I wait for the cart?" We'll almost always say, "I'll take it now, thanks." I had a regular passenger, Margaret, who flew with us every month. She always had her Starbucks cup from the airport, and without fail, she'd catch me during boarding and say, "Trash run?" I'd say yes. She'd hand it over, and that was that. One cup removed before 200 people started generating trash mid-flight. If you're finding this helpful, subscribe to the channel. I post every week with the kind of insider knowledge airlines won't volunteer. You're already here. You might as well get the rest of it. All right, we've covered a lot of practical stuff. This last one is different. It's not about efficiency. It's not about making the job easier. It's about making the job feel human. When you're leaving the plane, make eye contact with the flight attendant at the door and say thank you, and mean it. This isn't a tip. It's not strategic. It's just human decency. But in a job where you spend 12 hours serving people who mostly don't acknowledge you exist, a genuine thank you, eye contact, real tone, not rushed, lands. Flight attendants stand at that door and say goodbye to every single passenger. Most people walk past without looking up. Some nod, some grunt. A handful say thanks, but it's automatic. Distracted. And then maybe 3 or 4 people per flight actually stop for half a second, look at you, and say it like they mean it. Those are the ones you remember. It's not about the words. It's about the recognition. You're saying, "I see that you worked. I see that you were here. Thank you." One of my last flights before I left the airline, San Francisco to Frankfurt overnight, we had severe turbulence over Greenland. I spent 2 hours managing a passenger who was having a panic attack while simultaneously coordinating with the cockpit and reassuring everyone else. By the time we landed, I was exhausted. Hadn't slept, hadn't eaten, just wanted to get off the plane. And this passenger, older woman, maybe 70, stopped at the door. She looked at me and said, "I know that was a hard flight. Thank you for keeping us safe." She didn't know about the panic attack. She didn't know about the coordination. She just knew it had been rough, and she saw me. I teared up right there. That thank you carried me through the rest of my day. When you're deplaning, pause for 1 second. Make eye contact. Say, "Thank you," or "Thanks for the flight," or "Appreciate you." That's it. You don't have to do this. It's not required. But I'm telling you, it changes the tone of someone's entire shift. And it costs you nothing. All right, those are the 12. Here's the thread running through all of this. Small acts of awareness. That's it. You're not doing anything extraordinary. You're just paying attention to the people around you and the system you're moving through. You're thinking one step ahead. You're making eye contact. You're solving small problems yourself. You're saying thank you and meaning it. And here's the thing. Flight attendants aren't keeping score. We're not tallying up who did what. But when you do these things, the flight feels different. It feels easier. It feels collaborative instead of combative, and that energy spreads. Let me recap quickly. Keep your seatbelt visible so we don't have to wake you. Pre-order special meals so they're guaranteed. Give a quick nod during wellness checks. Tell us about medical devices during boarding, not mid-flight. Know what you want before the cart reaches you. Bring your own snacks. Don't rely on what's on board. Ask if now's a good time before non-urgent requests. Handle seat switches yourself, then inform the crew. Turn off your call button light when you see us coming. Check the lavatory cabinet for supplies before asking for help. Hand over your trash before service starts. Say thank you at the door like you mean it. You don't need to do all 12 on your next flight. Pick 2. Maybe it's the seatbelt buckle and the pre-order meal. Maybe it's just asking, is now a good time? Start there. That's enough. Start there. That's enough. This isn't about impressing anyone. It's not about getting special treatment. It's about moving through the world with a little more awareness, which makes things better for you, better for the crew, and honestly, better for everyone around you. Flying doesn't have to feel like an obstacle course. When you know what helps, you can make it smoother for everyone. Before your next flight, do 3 things. 1. When you pack, put your seatbelt on top of your blanket. Muscle memory. 2. If you have dietary needs, go to the airline's website right now and pre-order your meal. 3. Practice saying, is now a good time, to someone in your life this week. Make it a habit. I flew for 16 years. I met thousands of passengers. The ones I still think about weren't the ones who were loudest or demanded the most. They were the ones who made eye contact. The ones who said thank you. The ones who helped without being asked. Be one of those people. Your next flight crew will notice. And they'll be grateful. All right, if you want more of this, there's another video on screen right now about mistakes passengers make with carry-on bags that get them in trouble at the gate. Same insider knowledge, different topic. I'll see you there.